Imagine this. You wake up in the morning, not out of pressure, not in a rush, and most importantly, not feeling lost. You know exactly what you're living for, and every action you take throughout the day serves that purpose. It may sound unlikely in a world full of distractions and pressure, where it's so easy to get swept up in meaningless things. But this was the daily way of life for Marcus Aurelius, the great Roman emperor and one of history's most profound Stoic philosophers. Beneath the armor of power and the weight of ruling an empire, Marcus wasn't just leading a nation, he was learning to lead himself. Through his private journals, he questioned, adjusted, and disciplined his thoughts to stay aligned with his values, no matter the chaos around him. And from those very writings, generations have drawn a powerful manual for life: self-discipline through Stoic wisdom. Today, discipline isn't just about getting things done. It's a compass for the soul, helping you stay on course amid tempting shortcuts, constant noise, and emotional storms. It's the shield that protects you from procrastination, distraction, and self-doubt. You don't need to be a philosopher or a ruler to live this way. You just need to begin with one small step. Know what you're truly living for and commit to acting on it every day. On that journey, the teachings of Marcus Aurelius will be your steady guide. Are you ready? Let's begin. 1. Discover your purpose. Self-discipline doesn't begin with forcing yourself to work or checking off every item on your to-do list. It starts with something much deeper, knowing exactly what you're living for. When you have a strong enough why, the how will find its way. Marcus Aurelius didn't teach us to chase achievements or fame. He emphasized one thing: to live in harmony with nature, which, in Stoic terms, means living in alignment with your true self, your role, and your values. In the modern world, that can sound vague. When the world is screaming at you, do more, be more, how can you hear the quiet voice within? But that's exactly what Stoic philosophy calls you to do. Imagine your life as a sailboat in the middle of the ocean. If you don't know where you're headed, then any gust of wind can blow you off course. Your purpose is the compass, and it doesn't have to be grand. Sometimes it's as simple as being a better father, living kindly each day, or creating real value through my work. When you begin each morning with that in mind, the temptation to scroll mindlessly for hours begins to fade. Fatigue no longer makes it so easy to quit, because deep down, you know, every action today contributes to something greater. Ask yourself, what makes you forget about time when you're doing it? What keeps you up at night, not out of stress, but passion? Somewhere in there lies the clue to your purpose. And once you begin to live each day with that as your guiding light, discipline will no longer feel like a burden. It will become your natural choice. 2. Count on yourself. Imagine standing in the middle of a storm, wind howling, rain crashing down, and realizing that the only shelter you truly have is the strength you've built within. That's what Stoicism teaches us through the simple but powerful idea: count on yourself. Marcus Aurelius, despite being surrounded by advisors, soldiers, and the machinery of empire, repeatedly reminded himself that the final responsibility for his actions, thoughts, and reactions rested solely with him. In today's hyper-connected world, we've grown used to looking outward for validation, for direction, for someone to tell us what to do next. But what happens when no one is watching? When no one is cheering? That's where true discipline is born. Counting on yourself doesn't mean rejecting help or isolating yourself from others. It means realizing that your inner judgment, your decisions, and your consistency are the roots of lasting strength. It's about being the kind of person who keeps a promise even when no one will ever know if you break it. When you begin to rely on your word, you start treating your time, your energy, and your goals with deeper respect. You stop waiting for permission to change. You stop blaming others for delays or disappointments. You become the steady hand on your wheel. This mindset doesn't grow overnight. It starts small. Show up to the workout even when you're tired. Finish that page even when the motivation fades. Keep your word not because someone expects it, but because you do. In a world full of noise, Stoicism asks you to turn inward, to trust the quiet strength inside you. Because when all else is uncertain, the one person you must always be able to rely on is yourself. 3. Show up every day. Discipline is not about waiting for inspiration to strike like lightning. It's about choosing to show up even when you don't feel like it. Marcus Aurelius didn't talk about greatness as something born from occasional bursts of energy. He spoke of it as the result of steady, consistent effort. Imagine a craftsman carving stone. One strike doesn't reveal the sculpture, but hundreds of strikes, repeated with patience and precision, slowly reveal the form hidden beneath. That's how character is shaped. Showing up every day doesn't always mean doing something grand. Sometimes it means writing one honest sentence. Sometimes it's taking a quiet walk when your mind feels heavy, or simply sitting with discomfort instead of running from it. The modern world celebrates flashes of brilliance, viral moments, and instant success. But the Stoic path teaches us that the real transformation happens in the quiet, unnoticed repetitions. The days when you don't feel motivated are the days that matter most. Why? Because that's when your actions are powered not by emotion, but by purpose. You're no longer driven by mood, you're led by intention. Showing up builds trust with yourself. It tells your mind and body that you are someone who follows through. Over time, this habit becomes a kind of inner gravity pulling you back to your values whenever you stray. It doesn't mean every day has to be perfect. It means no day is wasted. Even a small step taken with awareness is a victory. So ask yourself, what would it look like to simply show up today? Not to be extraordinary, but to be present. To do what you can, with what you have, where you are. That, according to the Stoics, is more than enough. That is discipline in motion. 4. Embrace voluntary discomfort. Imagine stepping into a cold shower on purpose, not because you have to, but because you choose to. Why would anyone do that? Because discomfort, when chosen with intention, becomes a training ground for the mind. Marcus Aurelius and the Stoics believe that by deliberately facing small hardships, we build the strength to face greater ones when life throws them at us. In a world that constantly sells comfort, ease, and convenience, choosing discomfort may seem counterintuitive, but comfort can be a trap. It lulls you into passivity, softens your edge, and makes you fear even the smallest inconvenience. Voluntary discomfort is not about punishing yourself. It is about preparing yourself. It could be as simple as skipping a meal to appreciate food more deeply, walking instead of driving to reconnect with your body, or saying no to instant gratification so you can focus on long-term growth. Each of these moments sharpens your awareness. They remind you that you are not at the mercy of your impulses. You are in control, and with each act of restraint, you build inner toughness. You learn to say, I can handle this, even when things are not ideal. Over time, you stop running from a challenge. You meet it with open eyes. You welcome it as a chance to grow. Life will not always be gentle, but if you have trained your mind to stay steady through self-imposed trials, you will not panic when real storms arrive. So ask yourself today, where can you practice a little discomfort? What small luxury can you go without? In choosing a challenge, you build resilience. In stepping into discomfort, you step into your power. That is the Stoic way. 5. Focus on what you can control. Picture trying to sail a boat in a storm while screaming at the wind to change direction. It sounds absurd, right? Yet that is exactly what we do when we waste our energy on things outside our control. The Stoics, especially Marcus Aurelius, taught that real strength begins with understanding what is truly ours to influence. You cannot control the traffic, the weather, the opinions of others, or the twists of fate. But you can always control how you respond. That is your domain. That is your power. When you focus on what you can control, you reclaim energy that would otherwise be scattered in frustration or worry. You stop reacting and start responding. Instead of being pushed around by life, you become the one steering. Think about how often we get upset by things we cannot change. A rude comment, a missed opportunity, a delay we didn't cause. In those moments, the Stoic asks, is this within my control? If not, let it go. Not with apathy, but with clarity. This mindset does not make you passive. It makes you precise. It teaches you to act with intention where your influence matters and to release what is not yours to carry. Peace comes when you stop trying to bend the world and start mastering your choices. So today, choose wisely. Let go of the wind. Adjust your sails. Move forward with what is truly in your hands. That is where discipline lives. That is where freedom begins. 6. Refuse to play the victim. Life is not always fair. People will disappoint you. Plans will fall apart. Circumstances will shift without warning. But here is the truth the Stoics held close. While you cannot always control what happens, you can always control how you define yourself through it. Marcus Aurelius believed that every external event comes with an internal choice. Will you let it defeat you, or will you use it to rise stronger? Refusing to play the victim is not about pretending that pain does not exist. It is about choosing not to be ruled by it. It is about saying, this happened, but it does not own me. Imagine carrying a heavy stone in your backpack. At first, it slows you down, but the longer you carry it with awareness and strength, the more it becomes part of your growth. Eventually, you are stronger for having borne the weight. Victimhood is seductive because it asks nothing of you but to blame. Responsibility is harder, but it leads to power. It says, I am not helpless. I can act, I can adapt, I can move forward. The Stoic does not deny pain. They face it directly, then ask, how can I turn this into a strength? That mindset transforms obstacles into opportunities. So the next time life knocks you off balance, resist the urge to point fingers. Stand up, breathe deeply, and remind yourself, you are not what happens to you. You are how you respond. That choice, made daily, is where resilience is born. 7. Practice delayed gratification. Imagine standing at a crossroads. One path is wide and easy, lined with comfort and quick rewards. The other is narrow and quiet, requiring patience and effort, but leading somewhere far more meaningful. Most people rush down the first one without thinking. The Stoic, however, pauses and chooses the second. Marcus Aurelius understood that real fulfillment does not come from indulging every impulse. It comes from aligning your actions with your higher values, even if that means waiting for the payoff. Delayed gratification is not about denying pleasure, it is about mastering it. It is choosing the long-term benefit over the short-term thrill. It is saving when you could spend. It is studying when you could scroll. It is choosing the salad when your cravings shout for something fried. Every small choice to wait, to think, to hold back is a brick in the foundation of self-discipline. In a world wired for instant everything, this is a radical act. But with each decision, you prove to yourself that you are not ruled by your urges. You are ruled by your purpose. This builds not just discipline, but dignity. It allows you to walk through life with intention rather than reaction. So the next time temptation whispers in your ear, ask yourself a simple question. Does this serve who I am becoming? If not, let it pass. The reward of patience is not just a better result. It is a stronger, wiser you. And that is worth waiting for. 8. Ignore the naysayers. Picture this. You are building something meaningful. It might be a new habit, a business, a creative project, or a better version of yourself. But as soon as you begin, voices start to rise. Some mock, some doubt, some laugh. In those moments, what do? Marcus Aurelius would say. Return to yourself. Return to your purpose. The Stoics taught that the opinions of others are beyond your control and therefore not worth your peace. What matters is not what they say. What matters is whether you stay true to what you know is right. Every time you listen to a voice that pulls you away from your path, you hand over a piece of your power. But when you filter out the noise, when you walk forward without needing applause or permission, you grow unshakable. This is not arrogance. It is clarity. It is the quiet confidence of knowing your values and letting them lead. Constructive feedback is valuable, yes, but not every opinion deserves your attention, especially not from those who criticize without understanding, who mock because they fear trying themselves. So when the world gets loud, go quiet within. Measure yourself by your effort, your growth, and your consistency, not by the reaction it stirs in others. The Stoic stands firm not because they never feel doubt, but because they choose not to be ruled by it. Let them talk. Let them laugh. You have work to do, and your time, your focus, your life is far too valuable to waste chasing the approval of the crowd. 9. Learn from the wise. Imagine walking through a forest with no map and no path. Every step is uncertain, and every direction looks the same. Now imagine someone has already walked that path, left markings on the trees, and written notes in the dirt to guide you. Would you not follow those signs? The Stoics believed in learning not just from books or theory, but from the lives of those who lived with virtue. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on the qualities of people he admired, their patience, their courage, their discipline. He did not idolize them. He studied them. He asked, "What can I learn from how they carried themselves?" Who are the people in your life or history who embody the virtues you want to build? Maybe it is someone you know personally. Maybe it is a historical figure. Maybe it is a mentor you have never met, but whose story inspires you. The point is not to copy them. The point is to be reminded of what is possible. Emulating the wise is like sharpening your edge by holding it next to a blade already honed. Their example becomes a mirror. It shows you where you are strong and where you still need growth. In moments of doubt or laziness, think of how they would act. What would they choose? Would they give up or press forward with grace? Surround yourself with these quiet influences. Let them shape your mindset, your habits, and your standard. Wisdom is not built in isolation. It is inherited, observed, and chosen. Learn from the wise, and one day, someone may learn from you. 10. Reflect every night. At the end of the day, when the world quiets down and the noise fades, there is one final act that separates the reactive from the intentional. It is the simple practice of reflection. Marcus Aurelius did this almost religiously. He would review his day not to judge himself, but to understand himself. What did I do well? Where did I fall short? Did I act with patience, courage, and integrity? This nightly ritual is not about perfection. It is about progress. When you take a few moments to honestly look back, you begin to spot the patterns that shape your life. You see what triggers your frustration, what steals your focus, what lifts your energy. Without this practice, days blur together and growth becomes accidental. But with it, each day becomes a stepping stone. Each mistake becomes a teacher, and each success becomes a reminder of what is possible. You begin to walk into the next day a little wiser, a little stronger. Even 5 minutes of reflection can change your direction. Light a candle, grab a notebook. Ask yourself the questions that matter. Did I live in line with my values? Did I honor what I say I care about? If the answer is no, do not shame yourself. Simply take note, adjust, begin again. The Stoic path is not about being flawless. It is about being awake, being aware, being willing to improve. And that begins not with a dramatic act, but with a quiet moment of truth at the end of each day. You've just walked through 10 timeless principles of Stoic self-discipline, drawn from the wisdom of one of history's greatest minds, Marcus Aurelius. These are not distant ideas locked in old books. They are living tools, ready to be picked up and used by anyone who dares to live with purpose in a world of noise and distraction. Self-discipline is not punishment. It is the highest form of self-respect. It is the quiet courage to do what matters even when no one is watching. It is waking up each day and saying, I choose growth. With each principle you apply, whether it's showing up, letting go, or reflecting, you take one step closer to the person you were meant to become. If you've made it this far, it's not by accident. There's a fire inside you, a desire to live deeply, not just exist. The Stoics never asked us to be perfect. They asked us to be present, to be honest, to be willing to try again every single day. So ask yourself, what will you do with this wisdom? Which idea will you carry into your next challenge, your next morning, your next choice? Even the smallest change, done with intention, can shift the course of your life. If this message resonates with you, subscribe to Stoic Vault, your space for ancient wisdom in a modern world. Let's keep this journey going. Let's build a life of clarity, resilience, and true discipline together. Until next time, stay grounded, stay strong, and keep walking the Stoic path with Stoic Vault.